You checked your account balance 3 days ago, and the number looked fine. Now you're checking again, and somehow, several $100s have vanished. You haven't made any big purchases. You haven't done anything irresponsible. You paid your bills, bought groceries, maybe grabbed lunch a few times. Nothing unusual, nothing memorable, and yet the money is gone. You scroll through your transactions trying to figure out where it went. $47 here, $23 there, $18 for something you've already forgotten, $12, $14, $31, each transaction meaningless on its own, but together they've drained your account before the month is halfway done. This is the spending pattern that destroys more financial progress than any single bad decision ever could. Not the big purchases. Those are obvious, easy to evaluate, hard to ignore. It's the small, forgettable spending that compounds invisibly until you're wondering why you can never seem to get ahead. Here's what makes this so frustrating. You're not being reckless. You're not living beyond your means in any dramatic way. You're just bleeding money through 1,000 tiny cuts you barely notice making. The solution isn't willpower. If willpower worked, you'd have fixed this already. What actually works is habits. Small, automatic behaviors that reduce spending without requiring constant decision-making. Habits that create friction where spending is easy and remove friction where saving is hard. Habits that change your default patterns so the bleeding stops. This video covers 15 small habits that actually prevent overspending, not by making you miserable, but by changing the invisible systems that govern where your money goes. If your account balance keeps surprising you in the wrong direction, these habits are why. The first habit is implementing a waiting period before any non-essential purchase. This single habit prevents more overspending than almost anything else because it targets the root cause, impulse. The majority of regretted purchases happen within minutes of first seeing or wanting something. Desire peaks immediately, then fades. Retailers know this. That's why everything is designed to minimize the time between wanting and buying. The fix is simple. Create a mandatory gap between deciding you want something and actually purchasing it. For smaller purchases under $50, wait 24 hours. For medium purchases between $50 and $200, wait 72 hours. For larger purchases over $200, wait at least a week. During this waiting period, add the item to a list instead of your cart. Write down what it is, how much it costs, and why you want it. When the waiting period ends, review the list. You'll be genuinely surprised how many items you no longer want, or even remember wanting. The waiting period doesn't require willpower, it just requires a pause. And in that pause, the impulse often dissolves on its own. The second habit is unsubscribing from every marketing email and promotional list you're currently on. This sounds trivial. It's not. Every marketing email is an engineered trigger designed to create desire you didn't have before opening it. Limited time offers create urgency. Flash sales create scarcity. New arrivals create novelty. These aren't neutral information. They're psychological weapons deployed against your wallet. The average American receives over 100 promotional emails weekly. Each one is a small nudge toward spending money you weren't planning to spend on things you weren't thinking about until the email arrived. Spend 30 minutes unsubscribing from every promotional list. Use the unsubscribe link at the bottom of each email. For stubborn senders, mark as spam. Services like Unroll.me can help identify and mass unsubscribe from lists. Once you're off these lists, something interesting happens. You stop seeing deals. You stop learning about sales. You stop being reminded that products exist that you could be buying. The constant stimulation of manufactured desire simply disappears, and much of the spending it generated disappears with it. The third habit is deleting shopping apps from your phone. This is the mobile version of the previous habit, but arguably more important because your phone is always with you. Shopping apps are designed to minimize friction between desire and purchase. One-click buying, saved payment methods, personalized recommendations, push notifications about items you viewed. Every feature exists to make spending faster and easier. That frictionless experience is exactly the problem. The easier something is to do, the more often you'll do it without thinking. When buying something requires opening an app, browsing, adding to cart, entering payment info, and confirming, each step is a chance to reconsider. When buying requires a single thumb tap, reconsideration doesn't happen. Delete the apps, all of them. Amazon, Target, any retail apps, any fashion apps. If you genuinely need to order something, you can use the website through a browser. That extra friction, opening Safari, navigating to the site, logging in, creates space for consideration that the app deliberately eliminates. The fourth habit is using cash for discretionary spending categories. This might sound old-fashioned in 2026, but there's psychological research behind it that explains why it works. Paying with cash activates pain centers in the brain in ways that card payments don't. Physically handing over money feels like losing something. Tapping a card or clicking a button doesn't trigger the same response. This is why people consistently spend more when using cards than when using cash. Sometimes 15 to 20% more. Identify your biggest discretionary spending categories. For most people, this is dining out, entertainment, shopping, or personal care. Withdraw a fixed cash amount for these categories at the start of each week or month. When the cash is gone, spending in that category stops until the next period. The envelope system. Putting cash in separate envelopes for each category provides visual feedback on remaining budget. You can see exactly how much is left. That visibility creates awareness that digital payments can't match. When you see $37 left in your dining envelope on the 20th of the month, you adjust your behavior naturally. When the same information is buried in a banking app you rarely check, no adjustment happens. The fifth habit is checking your account balance every single morning. Not to obsess over money, not to create anxiety, simply to maintain awareness. Most people check their accounts sporadically, when they think they should, when something feels off, or when they're about to make a purchase they're unsure they can afford. This means spending most of the month without clear knowledge of their financial position. A daily balance check takes 30 seconds. Open your banking app first thing in the morning, before email, before social media, before anything else. Look at the number. Note whether it's higher or lower than yesterday. That's it. This habit creates ambient awareness that influences behavior throughout the day. When you know exactly where you stand financially, spending decisions become more conscious. The daily check makes your financial reality harder to avoid or forget. The sixth habit is practicing one in, one out for physical purchases. For every new physical item you bring into your home, one similar item must leave. Buy a new shirt, donate or sell an old shirt. Buy new kitchen gadget, remove an existing one. No exceptions. This habit works on multiple levels. First, it creates friction before purchases. Knowing you'll have to part with something you already own makes acquiring new things feel costlier. Second, it forces you to consciously evaluate whether the new item is actually better than what you're replacing. Third, it prevents accumulation that eventually requires larger living spaces, storage solutions, and organizational products, all of which cost money. The requirement to remove something also surfaces how much you already have. When you realize you own 37 shirts and have to choose one to remove before buying a 38th, the purchase suddenly seems less necessary. The seventh habit is calculating cost per use before any significant purchase. This simple math reframes how you evaluate value and often inverts your initial instincts. Here's how it works. Estimate how many times you'll realistically use an item over its lifespan. Divide the purchase price by that number. The result is your cost per use. A $200 jacket worn twice costs $100 per use. A $400 jacket worn 100 times costs $4 per use. The cheaper jacket is actually the more expensive choice. This calculation often reveals that expensive items are cheap and cheap items are expensive. Quality basics you'll wear constantly are better investments than trendy pieces you'll wear rarely. Durable goods used daily cost less than disposable goods replaced repeatedly. Running this math before purchases changes which purchases you make. Items you'd have bought impulsively suddenly seem unjustifiable. Items you'd have skipped as too expensive suddenly seem reasonable. This targets the accumulation of cheap purchases that individually seem harmless but collectively drain accounts. Those $12 items that cost far more per use than occasional larger purchases of genuinely useful things. The eighth habit is making a specific list before any shopping trip and buying only what's on the list. Stores are designed to make you buy things you didn't plan to buy. Layout, placement, signage, sampling, every element is optimized to generate unplanned purchases. Walking into a store without a list means walking into an environment engineered to extract more money from you than you intended to spend. Before any shopping trip, write down exactly what you need. Be specific, not groceries, but milk, bread, eggs, chicken, broccoli. Review the list once for anything you might have forgotten. Then commit. You will buy only what's on this list. This seems obvious, but almost nobody does it consistently. The person who walks into Target for laundry detergent and walks out with laundry detergent plus candles, plus throw pillows, plus organizational bins, plus items from the dollar section is the rule, not the exception. The list creates a clear boundary between planned and unplanned spending. If you see something you want that's not on the list, write it down for next time. Apply the waiting period from habit 1. Often you'll forget about it before the next trip. The ninth habit is never shopping when emotional, whether positive or negative. Emotional states dramatically affect spending behavior. Sadness, stress, anxiety, and boredom all increase spending as people seek comfort or distraction through purchases. But positive emotions can be equally dangerous. Celebration, excitement, and feeling good about yourself all reduce inhibition and increase willingness to spend. The pattern is consistent. Strong emotions of any kind compromise financial decision-making. Retail therapy isn't therapy. It's a temporary distraction that creates financial problems which generate their own negative emotions, creating a cycle. Before making any non-essential purchase, check your emotional state. Are you feeling strong emotions right now? If yes, delay the purchase until you're in a more neutral state. The waiting period from habit 1 helps, but emotional awareness adds another layer. This is subtle but important. Spending often has nothing to do with the item being purchased. It's about managing feelings. Recognizing when you're reaching for a purchase to manage emotions lets you find alternative ways to address those feelings. The 10th habit is setting up separate accounts for different purposes. When all your money sits in one account, every dollar feels available for any purpose. The money earmarked mentally for rent is physically indistinguishable from money earmarked for entertainment. This makes it easy to accidentally spend money designated for one purpose on something else entirely. Create separate accounts for separate functions. At minimum, one for bills and fixed expenses, one for spending money, one for savings. Some people benefit from additional separation, an account for each major savings goal, a specific account for discretionary spending. The psychological effect is powerful. When your spending account contains $300 and your bills account contains $1,500, you know exactly what's available for discretionary use. You're not subtracting upcoming bills mentally. The separation is built into the structure. Set up automatic transfers so the right amounts move to the right accounts on payday. Fixed expenses and savings leave your primary account immediately. What remains in your spending account is genuinely available to spend guilt-free. This structure prevents accidentally spending bill money on non-bills, a common reason people feel blindsided by account balances that seemed fine just days earlier. The 11th habit is conducting a monthly subscription audit. Subscriptions are designed to be forgotten. Companies know that friction to cancel is their friend. If they can get you subscribed and keep the charge low enough to avoid attention, many people will pay indefinitely for services they rarely or never use. The average American in 2026 spends over $200 monthly on subscriptions, but most dramatically underestimate this number when asked. The gap between perceived and actual subscription spending is often $50 to $100 monthly. Once monthly, review every recurring charge on your statements. List each subscription, its cost, and when you last actually used it. For each one, ask, if I weren't already subscribed, would I sign up today at this price? If the answer is no, cancel immediately. Be ruthless. That streaming service you keep meaning to watch something on? Cancel it. You can resubscribe if you actually want to watch something specific. The app you're paying for but using once monthly? Cancel it. The gym membership you haven't used in weeks? Cancel it. Subscriptions accumulate invisibly over time. Services raise prices. New subscriptions get added and forgotten. Without regular auditing, subscription creep slowly inflates your fixed expenses until flexibility disappears. This is one of the main reasons budgets fail. They're built once and assumed to remain accurate, while reality quietly changes underneath. The 12th habit is sleeping on any purchase over $100. The 24-hour waiting period from habit 1 applies to small purchases. For significant purchases, you need more time, specifically a night's sleep. Sleep does something remarkable to decision-making. Problems that seem urgent in the evening often feel different in the morning. Desires that felt compelling fade after rest. The psychological intensity around wanting something decreases dramatically after sleeping. This isn't metaphorical. Brain chemistry actually changes during sleep in ways that affect how we evaluate options and weigh immediate versus future consequences. The purchase that seemed obviously worth it at 9 p.m. often seems questionable at 9 a.m. Make it a rule. Nothing over $100 gets purchased same day. Add it to your list. Sleep on it. Decide in the morning. If you still want it after sleeping, it's more likely to be a considered decision rather than an impulse. The 13th habit is tracking every purchase for at least 1 month. Not forever. That's unsustainable for most people. But tracking everything for at least 1 month creates awareness that persists even after you stop tracking. Write down every single purchase, amount, what it was, why you bought it. Every coffee, every grocery trip, every subscription, every impulse buy. Use a notes app, a spreadsheet, or pen and paper, whatever you'll actually do consistently. At the end of the month, review the full list. Patterns will emerge that surprise you. You'll see categories where you spend far more than you realized. You'll find purchases you'd completely forgotten making. You'll notice emotional triggers, specific situations or feelings that consistently precede spending. This awareness changes behavior even after you stop tracking. Once you've seen the pattern of afternoon stress purchases clearly, you can't unsee it. The visibility created by tracking persists as consciousness. Most budgets try to limit spending through external rules. Tracking changes internal awareness. The limits become self-imposed rather than externally imposed, and self-imposed limits actually stick. The 14th habit is adding friction deliberately to your easiest spending paths. If deleting shopping apps and unsubscribing from emails removes negative friction, this habit adds positive friction, making it harder to spend in the places you tend to overspend. Identify where your money goes most easily. Maybe it's food delivery apps. Maybe it's in-game purchases. Maybe it's a specific store you always overspend in. Then make those paths harder. Remove saved payment methods so you have to enter card information manually each time. Log out of accounts so you have to log in to purchase. Use website blockers during your highest spending hours. Delete apps and require yourself to reinstall them before any purchase. Each layer of friction creates another moment for reconsideration. Having to find your card, type in the number, enter the expiration date, input the CVV. Each step is a chance to ask whether you actually want this. Most impulse purchases won't survive 4 or 5 friction points. The reverse of this habit is also powerful. Remove friction from good behaviors. Make saving automatic. Make bills autopay. Make investing happen without requiring decisions. Friction should favor the behaviors you want and disfavor the behaviors you don't. Modern commerce is designed to eliminate all friction between desire and purchase. You're not fighting your own willpower. You're fighting billions of dollars of optimization designed to separate you from your money. Adding friction levels the playing field. The 15th habit is creating visible progress toward your financial goals. Spending provides immediate, visible gratification. New item, new experience, new possession. Saving and not spending provide nothing visible in the moment. This asymmetry is why spending feels rewarding and restraint feels like deprivation. The fix is making your financial progress visible. Create a visual tracker for your financial goals. A savings thermometer on your refrigerator filling up toward your goal. A progress bar in a spreadsheet showing percentage of debt eliminated. A chart tracking net worth growth over time. Something you see regularly that shows your progress concretely. Every time you resist an unnecessary purchase, mentally transfer that money to your goal and update the tracker. The $47 you didn't spend on impulse becomes $47 added to your down payment fund, visible on the chart. This creates a different kind of gratification. Instead of the momentary hit of buying something, you get the sustained satisfaction of watching progress accumulate. The visual tracker transforms invisible non-spending into visible achievement. Every resisted impulse becomes a measurable step towards something you actually want. These 15 habits share something in common. None of them require sustained willpower. Willpower is finite and unreliable. Asking yourself to resist temptation through force of will hundreds of times per month, every month, forever. That's not a strategy. That's a guaranteed failure mode. What works instead is changing the environment, the defaults, the systems. Make spending harder and saving easier. Remove triggers that generate artificial desire. Create awareness that makes unconscious spending conscious. Add friction where spending flows too easily. Make progress visible so restraint feels rewarding. These changes operate automatically once implemented. You don't have to decide to resist the marketing email if you never receive it. You don't have to exercise willpower against the shopping app if the app isn't on your phone. You don't have to remember to save if the transfer is automatic. The money that seems to vanish isn't vanishing through one bad decision. It's leaving through dozens of small, forgettable, frictionless transactions. These habits target exactly those transactions, not by forbidding them, but by changing the conditions that generate them. You don't need more discipline, you need better systems. Everything in this video is financial literacy applied to the psychology of spending. Most financial content focuses on what to do with money once you have it, how to invest, how to save, how to allocate. That matters. But it all depends on actually having money to deploy, which depends on not spending it first. The habits in this video address the first step that most people skip, retaining money rather than letting it bleed away through unconscious spending. Without this foundation, every other financial strategy is compromised. You can't invest money you've already spent. You can't save what's already gone. Understanding why spending happens, the psychology behind impulse, the environmental triggers, the frictionless systems designed to extract money from you, is itself financial literacy. It's knowledge that changes behavior directly. I made a complete breakdown of financial literacy that covers this foundation and everything that builds on it. The psychology of spending, the systems that actually build wealth, the mistakes that derail progress at every level. If these habits showed you patterns you hadn't fully recognized, spending triggers you'd overlooked, system failures you'd attributed to personal weakness, that video will give you the complete framework for building financial success that lasts. Because here's the truth, the spending draining your account isn't random. It's predictable. It's following patterns that can be identified, understood, and changed. The 15 habits in this video are changes you can make today. Each one targets a specific leak in your financial system. Together, they transform spending from an unconscious drain to a conscious choice. The average person will watch this video, recognize themselves in multiple patterns, and change nothing. They'll continue wondering why they can't get ahead despite earning enough. Don't be the average person. Pick 3 habits from this video to implement this week. Not all 15. That's overwhelming. Just 3 that target your biggest spending leaks. Master those. Then add more. The money you're losing isn't lost to big decisions or major purchases. It's lost to the small, the forgettable, the unconscious. Fix those and the bleeding stops. Your financial future is built from daily habits. The question is whether those habits are serving you or draining you. Now you know the difference. What you do next is up to you.